Hello, on, people. Welcome back to another JSTV. Back again. It's the Real Talk podcast show. It's the debate show. And I've got two lads, one's my co-host, and we've got a new lad called Tom. Hi to Paul, and a special welcome to Tom.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all.
Fantastic stuff. And if you like the video, like what you watch, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, super chats are open as well. Thank you, Les. And you'd like to become a member, is 99p as well. Let's go on to hi to Rods. Big up to Roger. Hi to you. Hi to Gary. Hi to Jan. Saying that Paulinia will solve number 6. All solving those problems. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be
I love that.
I'd take it all day long. That guy's 20 years, but I don't think Fulham and sell. Big up to Les, Gary, and everyone in the room as well. And first of all, we're going to talk about it's the Saturday's game when Newcastle got beat by Man City by 3-2 after being 2-1 up before half time. 2 cracking goals. And I'll start with you, Tom. And Saturday's game, I mean, I looked at the goals again. And I tell you what, mate, it's absolutely shocking. The first goal, right? And I noticed it straight away. Dan Burn, what are you doing? Allowing Kyle Walker to have that much space, right? Jogging as well before you even put the cross in.
Yeah, I know. It's the main thing I concentrated on, and I always do this, is not just how the game's being played, but the tactical nous, how it's actually being managed. And the first half seemed to go very well. I thought we hit them on the break. We played well. We're able to get the ball up front, and we had pace to be able to hurt them. Not only that, it was nice to see Kyle Walker actually struggling to keep up with our players. And on both occasions, if I'm right, both goals came from Kyle Walker's side. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
So therefore, the 2 goals were outstanding, and things were going well. We were looking the team of what we were early in the season, if not last season. However, then came half time. And what changed? What changed was we sat back. We sat back again and again and again, and we keep inviting these teams on. Now, that's not just a player's decision. That's a managerial decision. That's a coaching decision. And for that reason, we have seen this play out time and time again throughout this season. And because of that, we've gone from positions of possibly winning to now, I'm not sure if you're aware, around about 35% of the goals scored against us have come in the last 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So therefore, at some point, as a team, we're going to falter, we're going to break down, and we're going to concede goals. And also, need I remind you, 34, 36 goals shot on our goal by Liverpool. Somewhere along the line, they're going to score a goal. And that's my point. Last one, they just seem to be coming always through the middle of the park. So therefore, I don't understand, maybe somebody can teach me this, but why were they stopped coming through the middle of the park last season, but not this season?
I think it's a concentration attitude, if I'm honest with you. I looked at all the goals conceded. I mean, all of them could have been avoidable. I mean, look at De Bruyne's goal, Paul. I mean, come on. The space he had, where was our midfield? What was not being closed down? And you know what it is, right? It's just because it's come early. I'll be honest, yeah? I'm not going to lie. I mean, the first goal was poor. The second goal, right, they allowed him to shoot and had all the space. And the third goal, they stood on watch when he played ball over the top to Oscar Bob. And he wasn't going to miss that at all whatsoever. But those 3 goals could have been easily avoided, man.
I think there's a caveat to the first goal. I mean, I know, I know people are going to have a go at it, but there is. There's a foul which actually takes out a man. The ref doesn't give it. That's why Dan Burn is out of position. I'm not saying Dan Burn shouldn't have known he should have been in a better position, but him, that foul happening, not being given, caused him to be so out of position. It led to the goal. I mean, look, it's a crazy finish. It really is. It's an absolutely phenomenal back heel. It's a stunning goal. The thing that frustrated me in the second half, as we already said, that it was PSG settings. It really was. It was pure PSG settings. It was sit back, try and take it on. We're 2-1 up. We're going to try and banter this 2-1 out. And then the big thing is that we all knew. I mean, the camera was going on about it. The commentators were in love with De Bruyne, in love with showing him more than the game and his new haircut. And it was obvious. Anyone who had half a brain knew that De Bruyne was going to come on at some point of that game. And the thing that frustrated me is that the whole game we had played with this flat three in midfield for the whole game, and that was working. As we said, that was working fine with the counter because City were obviously susceptible to that ball over the top. They were really struggling with that a lot. You could tell they had like Stones injured out. Who would have dealt with that a bit better, I felt. And then when De Bruyne comes on, in my opinion, you have to be like, well, someone mark him. Someone has to be on him the whole time. You can't have that flat three in midfield anymore because De Bruyne's just going to walk through it, which he did for both his, for the goal and for the assist. I think that's the frustration thing for me is that anyone with I love Eddie, but anyone with half a brain would have known that De Bruyne was going to come on at some point and he's that high class of a player. But like we said, if you walk through that midfield, which was happening on occasion all the time, that's another worry that our midfield sometimes looks non-existent. Joe being out is a big worry. I've heard another horrible, horrible rumour. I hate saying this. It's a rumour, so it's not true yet, but I have heard Joe could be out for the season. That's gutting. That is gutting. I come from a reputable source, not just some idiot on Twitter. It's come from a pretty decent source. I don't want it to be true. I'm hoping it's not, but I have seen that from a big account that's put out there. Could be false, obviously, could be rubbish. But yeah, that's what frustrated me. That De Bruyne's got all that freedom for the second goal. I mean, again, though, John, it's some bloody finish. I mean, it really is some finish. And again, for the third goal, I agree with you. He's given the freedom of the park. But again, that pass is unbelievable. I mean, Bruno's was phenomenal. I think Bruno's pass is probably better than that. But I tell you what, that pass was great ball.
Wow.
It's just that difference of, another thing that was causing that game to be lost was that, no offense, we're bringing on Lewis Hall. Great, good prospect for the future. They're bringing on Kevin De Bruyne. Do you know what I mean? That's where the gulf is. And as in my description underneath, you've got Everton, and I know our famous rivalry of Everton, but I do feel for the fans and I feel for the club. Get Everton and Nottingham Forest being guilty again according to FFP rules, and if they are guilty, that's the rules. But you've still got the bigger clubs who have got charges who still, they still haven't been found guilty technically yet.
No,
and it just seems.
I think sorry for interrupting, but I think the other situation is that the likes of Chelsea and Man City quite simply do have more money.
Yes.
I believe they're going to court at some point, maybe at the end of this year or next year. And by the time that a decision's made, then appeals are put forward. Yeah. And any possible negotiations in between that. I mean, seriously, we could be looking at 3 years from now.
Yes. Yeah.
Minimum. And down that period, these administrators at the English Premier League, they're on steroids now. They're on steroids. And what they're doing is they are ripping the game apart by placing clubs into insurmountable positions where they will struggle to get out of relegation. And if they get relegation, well, let's be honest, guys, I know they get the parachute payments. That's if they do. I'm not sure if they do now, but if they do, that's not going to last them long in terms of the wages they've got. And of course, after that point, if they don't come up, where they're going to get their income from? Because there's nothing in the EFL. There's nothing down there in the Championship. No. So really, it's staggering that these turkeys, which is really what they are voting for Christmas, and that's destroying their own clubs at the same time with FFP, because FFP will strangle investment. And let me just put this to you all as well.
Yeah.
If I was a billionaire, I wouldn't buy a smaller club. because I couldn't get them out of the position they're in because they don't have the turnover. So let's just put one thing straight.
Yeah.
When they say that Newcastle United, John, right, can catch up with the other clubs, the other big clubs, they can't. And I'll tell you why. Because the other clubs will also be able to move forward as much as Newcastle are. So effectively, that gap remains. And if anybody's telling me that Man City are not as good as Newcastle doing their marketing, their commercial terms and agreements, then they're on a different planet. They're better than us. And they've got a better marketable product than us at the moment. So that gap's never going to actually close really somewhat. It may close in point of turnover, but not in terms of where they're going to end up in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time. This is a real problem, and this needs to be addressed. And I also want to say this as well.
Cool.
When the EPL and they voted for financial fair play, it's a rule. It's not set in law. It's a rule. That's all it is, and it can be challenged. And it can be challenged. And where some people may not like this, where some people might not like this point of view, but I'll say it as it is. If I was going to invest, I'd go to the Super League because there's no FFP.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But the thing is, though, would you bring? Go on, carry on.
And also, not only that, there's a 200 to 300 million sweetener they're talking about if you go into that league. Now, the point I'm making is if you haven't got much income, you're going to be attracted by that. But there is a silver lining, of course, and that silver lining is that if the Super League is established, FFP will have to be done away with in the Premier League because it'll make the Premier League non-attractable, make them uncompetitive. And also the Super League are talking about getting rid of the likes of Sky, getting rid of the intermediaries and bring it in-house themselves and doing it themselves. Because let's be honest, when Sky put on outside broadcasts, it's not their production crew. It's a company which is hired in to do it.
Yeah, it's like when they have NHL or whatever, they always just steal off the American feed.
Yeah, they do. So there's bigger stories in this, and I think Newcastle have got some serious challenges at the moment. And anybody that doesn't think they have, then I think they're on a different planet. They do have challenges, and can those challenges be met? They can, but somewhere along the line, one of these clubs who's been hit time and time again, particularly Everton, the poor things, are going to have to put their head above the trenches to find out, if they can challenge the EPL. It's time and time again that, and I've had enough of so many hurdles being placed in front of a wonderful club called Newcastle United Football Club.
Facts, absolute facts. Seriously, I can't really add to that as well, Tom, because you know what you just said there is absolutely spot on. I just sat back, listened to you as you were the manager, as you were the owner of the club. I just sat back. You're spot on, brilliant. Why do you think that when PIF were looking around before Newcastle, they were looking at bigger clubs? I think they realised because of the standard of income would make a difference as a part looking for somebody else. Part of Newcastle's attraction is definitely the fact it's a one stadium, one team city, and also the fans and what's around it. But also it was the price. So therefore you've got Sir Jim Radcliffe of is it Ineos? And Ineos, yeah.
And he's closing down his Grangemouth plant, taking all his money and piling it into new investments. And of course, I think he's got a football club also in France as well. Well, don't be surprised because that club, I believe, is interested going in the Super League. So these guys, on one hand, want the cake, and on the other hand, they want to eat it. So let's wake up, guys. There's a bigger story here. It's not just about on the football pitch. There's a far bigger story, and I think Piff, Amanda, Gadusi, and they'll be having to look at this conundrum because it is a conundrum.
Yep. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. I'll go through the comments as well. We're going to come back to that in a minute. There's loads to talk about. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about Eddie Howe, and we're going to talk about the women's football as well. Big up to Jan, by the way. Before I do that, big up to Wayne, Man City fan. Watched me vlog, right? And he absolutely loved it. 51-year Man City fan. Big up to you, Wayne. And you know what? I will reply back to you in a bit, after the show. The Man City game exposed how exhausted the Newcastle players are. The first half was class, but the second half subpar. Jan, it's not the first time that's happened. Great first half, poor second half. Big up to you, Back in the Net podcast. Big up to you, my guy. Hope you're good. Excuse me. Big up to Ron, the freeze of War 3 mids. Running back to K. De Bruyne, exposed you need a CDM 100%. The plan was 60-30 with the two strikers game. Our turn at each game, well, that went out the window, not be able to change. Freshened up sentiment has crippled us as we tell off the game. Gary, you know what it is? We haven't got no one to replace. That is the problem. Big up to Ian, by the way. Hope you're well. We're talking about the FFP. I mean, Tom's made some fantastic points there if you listen to him. I mean, this is just getting a beyond the joke now. We cannot invest because of this FFP rule. Everton Forest got done, right? Now, we can only spend what's coming in. And I know you feel very strong about this. Go on, say away, man.
Yeah, so I sorry, I didn't hear everything. I was sort of skipping in and skipping out because I just jumped off somewhere else. But nice to meet you, Tom.
Yes, nice to meet you. Still a bit nervous, but I'm getting there.
Hi, Tom. From what I've heard, mate, you're definitely better than Paul anyway. That's 100%.
Well, a frustrated supporter who looks at the business side, not just what's on the playing pitch.
Yeah, that's what I try and do as well, Tom. But I sometimes I do it with bad language, which we do not condone on this channel. So we'll say that right now. So basically. I didn't hear what you said, so I might be repeating what you said, or it might go against it. But for me, FFP is in its current guise anyway. Is not going to be around next season.
I agree. Yeah.
The reason being is it's now affecting every single team in the Premier League. It started off with the best intentions. I really do think that, and there's not many things that these people, the hierarchy, do. For that reason, but I actually think it was to stop teams like Nottingham Forest coming up, spending 200 million one season to stay up to get the golden goose, the golden egg, spend another 200 million and then not having an owner who can back it up, which I think Forest do have the money, so that's okay for them. But it was brought in anyway to stop these teams that might get promoted into the Premier League just chucking loads of money at it, and if they fail, going out of business. That's my understanding of it. What it's been morphed into is the teams that are classed as the hierarchy. So the teams that have already all spent the money, the billions and billions of pounds on players, the billions of pounds in infrastructure.
Well, can I say one thing? There is an old saying in business and in a state: you can't beat old money.
Mm-hmm.
Old money's forever. And it's always there.
I do know exactly where you're coming from there, but then when you look at Abramovich, he's new money. If you've ever seen new money in your life, like that's new money. He came in and he chucked billions at that club. They brought in a group of clubs and an infrastructure where they had hundreds of hundreds of top class kids who they knew they could bring into the fold, send out on loan. They were never going to play for Chelsea. You can look through the Premier League and look at the players that they've had on their books that have never really had a chance or not much of a chance, and then have gone on to be world class. Which look at the De Bruyne, for instance, and Salah, and like all those players have gone through that. My point is, these teams, the top six, as they like to be called, but they're not actually the top six, have had the chance to spend their money. And then what they've done is they've seen FFP come in and thought, right, we'll pull up the drawbridge. And what they've done, in my opinion, and I might be wrong and disagree with us, I'm happy to be proven wrong because I'm just a layman here. But what's happened is when the other teams have seen us come in, with a big wallet full of money, more money than the rest of them put together. They've all dropped the knickers and they've all pooed the pants, and they've gone, we need to stop them spending. So the way to stop them spending is to bring in these draconian rules that stop them spending. But what they've not looked at is everyone outside of the top 6, because there's 14 voted for this, like to bring in these rules. What they've not looked at is the fact that it's going to stick it up their backside as well, because they now can't spend. And
the interesting thing today was, did you see the article in the Daily Mail where the English Premier League executives have been summoned to Parliament?
No.
I only saw a glimpse of it. But you see, I'm a suspicious bugger.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, the timing of it as well is interesting.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me, but I wouldn't have seen it because it's Emily's dad's birthday today, 70th birthday. So just happy birthday to Emily's dad.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And 70th birthday, he got a nice watch off us.
Very good. Lovely.
He cried.
Oh, wonderful.
Wrong watch.
I cried when I knew how much it cost. No, sorry, going back. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I haven't seen it. But the facts are, I think the Premier League has dropped the pants and absolutely pooed the pants, because what they're doing is actually illegal in competition law, as you'll know better than me, Tom, I'm sure. I'm not an expert on our businesses.
Well, I'm not either, but I do read. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. So it's anti-competitive. It basically is. And
also, if I can just put in, they may fall foul of the Monopolies and Mergers Commission.
Correct.
And because of that, we are running English Premier League by 3 monopolistic organisations: EPL, PGMOL, and EFL.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And guess what?
Correct.
Guess what? When you put the 3 together and the communications they have, that then is classed in law as a cartel.
Yeah, that is a cartel, and that's what it is. And I think that it only takes, it's like the Bosman ruling, it only takes one person with the means to do it, to stand up and say, actually, this is a load of rubbish, we're not happy with this. So the reality is, I think it's all going to come crumbling down now. It might come crumbling down in my opinion in 2 ways. It might be that they get the government says, no, this is wrong. We will get an independent adjudicator or whatever you'd call in to look at this and then to make rulings, because you're not fit for purpose and you can't look after your own organisation.
I think in the present state, a case has been founded and won in the European Court of Justice, which was FIFA and also UEFA, the European Super League, and they found in favour of the European Super League.
Well, that was on the monopolies route, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I would be very, very surprised if our government tried to overturn that with legislation, because it's already been established, and it's no doubt about that. Because it's established, it's there, and it can be looked at as a precedent for moving forward with any other judgments.
Yeah,
and that's
another thing that I haven't actually heard anyone else come out with, and I'm sure somebody else must have mentioned it. But what I was thinking today is, all the Premier League are doing with FFP now is devaluing the Premier League.
Correct. Because I said that earlier. Yeah.
Can't buy the top players. Therefore, the top players aren't coming into the Premier League, so they're going to go elsewhere. The Premier League.
My opinion. Sorry for interrupting, but my opinion is they are trying to. You remember when the Italian league was the dogs, you know what?
Yeah.
I think they're trying to move that back in that direction.
Yeah, we all know what happened with that.
Yes, and also, you're right. And in some cases, some of that still goes on with. So the point I'm making is, and you're absolutely spot on, is that the value of these clubs, and more so with Newcastle, has devalued because it means that there's less investors want to buy. We are heading towards $1 billion in terms of value, between 850, 870 and $1 billion, right? That's where we're going, including brand, goodwill, whatever.
Well, it must be over $1 billion now, because with the turnover without Adidas was 270?
Yeah. I think you could be right, but I believe that's now
because it's an active business.
And the amazing thing about this is the Premier League don't have a clue about how to run a business.
Yeah, because they're not
They have
businessmen.
no idea. They are devaluing their own product. They are mad and they are on steroids.
Yeah. I'm just going to cut in there, guys. Yeah, we're going to go on to another topic in a minute as well. I'm going to go through the comments. Leslie's got a question for you, Tom. What is your background?
I've got a background in engineering, accountancy. I was a business analyst, business consultant. I've got qualifications in estate planning, and I work with some international businesses as well.
I knew you were an accountant.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a very good one. My skills were dealing with the side of interloping with the clients, dealing with the planning, and coming up with forward planning, and I still do to this day. So I give up my practicing certificates because I wanted to go into international planning, and my practicing certificates wouldn't sort of allow that. But things turned out quite well in the end, so I moved that direction.
Good, fantastic. We're very going to go on to next topic as well. Do keep the comments coming in. Make sure you like and subscribe to your podcast. And if you want to super chat, is the $sign bottom right corner, and just give what the channel is worth as well. Thank you very much indeed. Happy 70th birthday, Emily's dad. Happy birthday to Emily's dad. What a cry, baby. Bless him. That's it, Ollie. Not sure who's a guest is, but yeah. Lorraine, that is Tom on the top right-hand corner. And he's basically saying that they don't want us to be part of the top six. You're absolutely right. And everyone apparently agree as well. And saying hi to everybody else as well. Beard Viking, hi to you, mate. And listen, the fact that Nick DeMarco has taken Forrest's case is a huge positive. You know what it is, Leslie? If that is true, if he wins that, and I believe he will, right, then he should do it for every Premier League as well to get this profit stability out the window. But it's here to stay. Let's go on to the next topic. I went to the women's game yesterday, Tom. We lost by 5-0 against a brilliant Man United ladies as well. The gap between us and the women's elite team is huge. We know that. I watched it yesterday for the first time. The atmosphere yesterday from our fans is amazing, yeah? And you know what, Tom? We will get to the Premier League one day, right? But have we learned a lot from yesterday? I think we've learned a lot yesterday. I think we learned a lot.
I think I didn't watch the match in too much detail. I do enjoy watching the girls. I think they're wonderful. I think it's wonderful from where they come from, considering, if I remember rightly, Mr. Ashley didn't put a penny into those girls.
He didn't.
They had to pay, I think, if I'm right, they had to pay for their own shirts at that point in time. Yeah. And what Amanda's done, what Caduce's done, what the new owners have done, they are pushing that forward. And they've come so far so quickly. What's the interesting position from my point of view is they've come further in terms of actual gains than what Newcastle has actually, because they've come from actually zero and they're moving forward rapidly. But it just shows again that guess who they played against? Top 6 club in Man U. And again, they're established. That's the difficulty Newcastle have fighting on all these different fronts. But I'm delighted for the girls. I think they've been absolutely wonderful. We all should be proud of them. And I think they put a good display up yesterday. And they will bridge that gap. They will bridge that gap. And some of those players will still be there to do that. Well done to them. We are proud of them.
You know what? I've got a little clip on it as well on YouTube. And they were absolutely amazing. I mean, they spoke to the fans. They were with the families. The fans was brilliant. Oh, Adam Pearson is there, by the way. Didn't see him, but big up to Adam, by the way. And Les, also Brennan Johnson was a few weeks outside the figures the Premier League are using. With his sell, if it would have included, there'd be no issue. If they sold it to Brentford, it would have been any issues at all or whatsoever.
It's like 3 weeks difference or something, but because they offered, I think they offered 30 and they got 45 in the end a couple of weeks later. But yeah, it's just mad, isn't it, how close that is?
Absolutely. Sorry, Lorraine, we're doing the best we can, try to do one at a time. So we are doing our best, but thank you, babe. You know what I mean? Hope you're okay, by the way, with your family as well. I'm going to go through the comments. We're going to talk about Eddie Howe as well. Paul, I'll come on to you about the women's game, right? I mean, we're getting stronger, but yesterday, we just got beaten by a class yesterday.
That's it, isn't it? It's just good to see some proper injection of bother and funds going into, something that we said already, and there actually was just a pointless endeavour. They're just trying to skate by with no investment, no care. Who could have cared less about them in Newcastle? Apart from the fans, that's it really. No playing at St James's Park or anything like that, and it wasn't going to happen. And then the owners, that's what I like about these new owners, because I know some people were a bit worried when they came in because of, it's the states thing, but that's the thing that they label everything the same. That when they came in, they were like, the country has issues and they don't always understand rights of everybody, but that's not the owners. It's another whole argument, that whole thing. So they've come with their head screwed on and they've put big investment in there. They've allowed them to play at St James's Park here and there, which I think is a really good positive step. And then, it's just a dream draw, isn't it, against a very top side in the Women's Super League. I think Newcastle on their way there. I think they're third in the league at the moment. I think it works that you have to finish first, and then we go to another league, and then if we win that league, then we do a playoff. It's North and South, I believe. And then the winner of that goes into the Women's Super League, the Premier League. I believe that's true. I could be talking nonsense, but I think that's roughly my understanding of how that works to get up there. So, it's a process, but we're doing very well. I mean, it's one of those games where we've seen some results in the league where they've been like 13 goals at times. So it's one of those things where you're playing a team that good. And, 5-0 sounds like a bad scoreline, doesn't it? When you hear 5-0, it sounds like you just got thrashed. But knowing that some teams can get thrashed 13-14, the girls themselves proud, and they played well. I watched the whole game. It was good to see them, go up against a very top side with, and look at what Man United put. They put pretty much their first team out as well. So they showed respect their side as well. So they'll learn from it. They'll gain experience from that, which is good to hear. And then if they do get through, then they've got another league to get to the top of. And they get to the top of that, they win win that, and then they get through. Then they're in the big time. And that's what they want. It's brilliant to see. Showing up the lads at the moment, this lot, I tell you.
Totally agree with you, 100%. There's one player I'd love to have at me close, Ella Toon. She is absolutely amazing.
Is that just because of the namesake?
No. She's always been a fantastic player. I like her. I really do.
They make a good banner.
Yes, Toon. Yeah, exactly, man. Oh, she's amazing. I'll go for the comments. Going to go to the next topic as well. We need to speak about it as well. Katie Barker is my colleague, Julie's daughter. Fantastic, Lorraine. Fantastic. She looked good yesterday. My new ladies' team's far better than men's. They should swap them around. Yep. She's a canny player. I like that. Maxi. Yeah. You mean Maxi? He went to Saudi's too cheap. Talking to Adam P. What do you think of the Ultra thing? I think it was daft messel. That was it. It was at the PSG. If it was a PSG, right? I mean, if it wants to be like that, cool. Do you know what I mean? That's Adam for you. But
it was before the Man City game, John. There was a march towards St James's Park where we had some pretty embarrassing people with some black and white flares trying to act a bit like the PSG Ultras.
Yeah,
it was a bit cringeworthy.
It is never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? We're never gonna have an Ultra. If you try an Ultra, it will not work. I'm telling you that now. It will not work. It's got to be planned, and it takes time to get it right. Simple as that. But go for it. And Philip's chatting to Ronald. Yes, it was. I get the idea. But a comment on Alan P's blog: the supporters stopped watching the German league due to the ultras. That's from Philip. There's more Mitch chatting in the live. That's from Gary. I get that, but it's nice to hear each person's opinion, but it's difficult to listen to more than one, and nice to hear what each person has to say. We just do it one by one, and it's working. Yeah, we do our best, Lorraine, and we'll give it a bash as well. And maybe Juttle, and I get what you're saying, and that's Ian. So, right, we're going to go straight on, start with Ian, about Eddie Howe's future. Well, it's not a future, he's never going to get sacked anyway, but I was seeing on social media saying that Eddie Howe reckons he's taking the club as far as he could. I was seeing Bournemouth fans come online and had his opinion saying that, look, he starts well, but he just cannot get a defence, losing games, etc. So he's never going to get a sack, can he? Surely not. Is he under pressure? Is he really under pressure, Ian?
I've been really busy, so I've not seen any of that. But what you just said then, if that's what somebody who's saying that, I don't know. Like saying he can't get a defence sorted when we had the best defensive record for the majority of last season. We've still not actually got a bad defensive record, and considering Botman's been out for so long, and we've had Lascelles in who couldn't, he'd lost all confidence, and he was a shadow of his former self, and he's come in and when he's come in, he's been absolutely brilliant. It's a load of rubbish for me. Try my best here, Paul.
Yeah, very good. They're very good.
For me, Eddie, it really gets my weekend seeing people coming out against Eddie, because anyone with half a brain can see we have got massive injury lists, and not just I counted up the other day that I think there was 6 or 7 players injured or suspended, who I would say were fighting for a first team place, as in a starting place in an 11-man team.
Yeah.
There's no other team that, and then we had 14 players injured or suspended not long ago before Christmas. The players who are out there are now taking the brunt. I just said before on another forum. I just said before, this is the reason that I think that the FFP rules are actually now. If I was the PFA, I would be going to the Premier League and I would be saying, you're endangering our members, because we are forced into playing either kids, right, who aren't physically developed enough to play, like Miley, quality, absolute flipping quality player. He's not physically developed at 17 enough to play this amount of games, but he's having to play because everyone else is injured. So we are now putting that on a kid, and he could do something that ruins. It could end his career. The PFA for me are just sitting back and just watching this happen. For me, teams teams outside of the cartel, let's put it in normal, simple terms. The cartel have got hundreds of players. They've got a load of Mileys right in the background, sitting there waiting for the chance. They bought them all. They bought them before this bollocks ruling. Sorry, John. Before this ruling was brought in with FFP, right, where you can't spend money now, which was brought in initially for the right reason, but as we said, to hamstring teams like us and teams that want to spend money to make the division better. But now that it's actually physically affecting our footballers to the point where we've got players like Big Joe who wouldn't have been injured. Big Joe would not have been injured if he hadn't been overplayed. He's never had a rest. These players are getting injured, and they're getting no protection as well, by the way. The PGMOL need to have a look at themselves, because they are a disgrace. They let our players get kicked all over the park constantly, all the time. And it's not... People say, when I say this, they go, oh, you're just being paranoid. You're just being paranoid. And I'm like, yeah, it seems to you I'm just being paranoid. The because you support Man United. You know what I mean? And that's fine, because you win any 50-50s go in your direction. It's going to take a deep breath before I carry on. So, the whole thing is becoming an absolute joke. It's not fit for purpose. FFP should be NFFP, not fit for purpose, not financial fair play. That's a load of rubbish. Yeah, sorry, John. And the PGMOL, they've never been fit for purpose for the last 10 years. The FA needs to have a look at itself, because the FA is now getting run by the Premier League, and the Premier League are just a cartel in league with the top six, as they think about it, and trying to bugger everybody else. So the truth is, what I think, and I know it's a little bit like, I'm not legally minded, but my way of looking at it is, if we are having to play our players to the point where they're getting injured and could ruin, by the way, their careers, which then affects their family, their income, this is now serious. We go out, and for me, don't go over the top with it. Go out and buy the players we need to sustain our football club. When if you've got a business, right? You've got a business. You've got to look at that business, and you've got to take into consideration your employees. And at the moment, we are not being able to do that. Our employees, which are the footballers, are getting getting written off because we are not being allowed to buy other players in to support them, to give them a break. So for me, we should go out, not go over the top, not do a Chelsea, just go out and buy some good footballers who can come in and give our lads a break. And if there's a problem with that, we'll see you in court. Because I tell you what, PIF's lawyers have got a lot more nous than these muppets, And I know I just said that before on another platform, and a couple of people are like, "No, we stick to the rules," but we cannot stick to the rules. We're gonna have no players left, because we get no support off the referees. They let everyone kick the living daylights out of Bruno. Like flipping out. Bruno's ankle injury. I've never seen a player targeted last year like that.
Yeah,
agree. I agree.
I agree. Sorry. I did pretty well then, Paul, though, didn't I?
did very good, very good. Well done, buddy. Well done.
If we go on to Jackie, brilliant, Ian, brilliant. If we go on to Jackie's comments. Sorry, before we go on to Jackie's comments as well, we'll comment in a minute, Jackie. Tom, Eddie Howe, is he really under pressure in your eyes, or do you think he's tactically he just hasn't got it, or do you think it's being found out because of all the games he lost?
Well, sorry, some people might not enjoy what I'm about to say, but I think Eddie Howe is treading a tightrope. Eddie Howe, I watched the Liverpool game, and when we played Liverpool at home and got beat, Eddie Howe man management in that game was shocking. We should not have gotten beat, and that was the first real indication we had that we needed a defensive midfielder. That was the first real time. That surprised me that day and disappointed me. And I thought, no, this is just a one-off. It was a big day. But then I saw what clout, experience, and in-play and in-game management Klopp brings to the side. And he brought it that day for Liverpool and has, to be fair with him, throughout the season. Eddie is a wonderful manager, and I don't want to see him go. But I'd like somebody to tell me why these things haven't been put right. So here we go. Why has he gone from out-and-out attack, closing down, to parking the bus, and particularly from the PSG game away from home? Why? Why has he started parking the bus halfway through a game, or certain parts of the game towards the end? Is that tactically his idea, or is it the players? I think it's his. Yes, fitness I think would come into it as well, but then I've looked at that, and I've looked at that, I think reasonably, and I'm looking at the other clubs around us, and they're playing just as many games. Then I've also got poor substitutions. I've got then poor in-game management of the substitutions and why he uses them and who he uses and where he uses them. The stubbornness part comes into it for me, because it's sometimes we would have to agree he's played players who shouldn't have played and should have been rested. And I'm aware that games would matter when we possibly could get beaten, whatever, but here we are. We have an injury crisis. I then got issues with the medical team. The strange leaving of the top medical chap, whoever he may be, at Newcastle is a strange one without really any announcement or background to it. What's happening there? Why are players going on the pitch and they're carrying an injury 2 or 3 games longer than what they should be? So these things need answering. And also, I've got to actually come back to Darren Eales. Darren Eales should get a part as an actor with Disney. And I'm not going to be negative about that. Darren Eales was brilliant, because what he did when he announced Ian, which you touched on, the actual financial accounts for the year, he played the part wonderfully on behalf of Newcastle, destroying financial fair play. He destroyed it. He was on every channel the media wanted to put him on, and he played its part, and he played it wonderfully well. So congratulations to Darren Eales. He played an excellent job as a chief executive, a man trained and also studied at Harvard in law, and his nous came to the fore in that media meeting. He was.
I hope he's a smiling assassin, Tom.
Yeah. So there's some of the things I've noticed. Now, having said all that, is Eddie capable? Yes. But is he capable of turning this round to get a reasonable return as an investor would, such as PIF, by the end of the season? So what's a reasonable return for an investor? Well, a reasonable return for an investor is 7th place in Europe, where you're earning extra money. Now, as an investor, and I do invest in some businesses and in my own family business, why was that investment given away in one game against Milan, where we lost Champions League and we lost Europe at the same time? Where was the in-game management?
We were wrong.
I think some things can be said, but I would have been annoyed with that. I wanted to stay in Europe hook or by crook because I know they needed the money. Sorry, guys.
No,
reality.
Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. I mean, everyone's got an opinion. What do you think, Paul? Everyone's got an opinion at the end of the day.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's the whole point of this game. It does my head. It really does my head in when someone asks, even like this personal life, and someone says, "What's your opinion on that?" and you give it, and they go, "Well, I don't want to hear that."
Yeah.
Well, that's my opinion. Then everyone has different opinions. Some people, every club. Some people love Pep. I know Man City fans that don't want Pep in the club. I know it's mad, but I've actually heard Man City fans asking for him to be sacked in the past. I've heard Liverpool fans say, "Get Klopp out the club."
Well, I can understand that.
You hear these different opinions.
He's a right knob, isn't he?
You hear these from fans, and like the cool thing is that you get different opinions from different fans. I've been, as you guys know, I've been going to St James's Park since I was 18. I'm 36 now, as a season ticket holder, and I've sat next to many people, old, young, new, whatever, and they've all got different opinion. Now, I remember one lad giving Maxi hell all the time, just moaning on at Maxi. Maxi, get up, reader, Maxi. One lad giving, Shelby difficulty in the championship, going, guy, he's never up front. What's he doing? He's crap. He's annoying. People giving Andy Carroll crap in the championship. You get all these different opinions that you have there. And I think that's healthy about the game. The thing that I don't find healthy is when our own fan base start fighting with each other. That's when it gets stupid and pointless. I just don't understand. Someone made a point that it almost felt like, and this is a mad statement, I know, but it felt like we were more united as a fan base under Mike Ashley. And that's because we all hated him. Yeah, we all hated him. We all wanted him out. But now it feels like sometimes I'm fighting with people because they think we're going to go, well, why can't we win the league? What?
Look at who you're fighting with, though. Come on. Have a look at who you're fighting with. You're fighting with Muppets who've probably never been to a match. And if they have, let's be honest, that's why I'm not on Twitter now, because, these people aren't football fans. They're not Newcastle fans, certainly. So what you got to look at is there's always going to be, I've got friends who are like Eddie Howe. I see it on Facebook and I never bite. I've got one friend and I never bite because I think he's a bit deranged. And I just think, if that's what you think, fair enough. Everyone's allowed their own opinion, but that doesn't mean that your opinion isn't a massive bucket of donkey poo. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
These people who are talking this rubbish, they either don't understand football or they don't understand Newcastle. I can look and be critical about tactical stuff that Tom was talking about. I'll be honest, some of it I don't agree with. A lot of it I do agree with. But I also could give a reason for 99% of the things that Tom's saying, and a lot of it just boils down to not having enough players, not having the fitness in the squad. We all know we would not be in this position. We would not be hampered if it wasn't for FFP. Simple as that, and it's been brought in and it's been modified, should I say, not brought in, but it's been modified to keep us down. And not just us, other teams as well, the likes of Villa, Aston Villa, it's been brought in so that the top six, they're so narrow-minded and so short-sighted. They're the same. I'm sure they're the kids of the people who run the FA that are now at the Premier League. They're the same sort of Eton Blazers. Who knows them? Who voted them in? And what democracy were these Muppets in charge of our game? They probably know nothing about football. So the reality is they're all pooing the pants now, putting it politely, because the government's seen they're not fit for purpose, and they want people in to regulate it properly, and that's why they've deducted the likes of Everton 10 points. Where's Man City? Where's Man City's deduction? It's nowhere, because they can't afford the lawyers to fight Man City.
Facts. I mean, before I go on Jackie's comments, I've got to say quickly on Man City, touched on that. I reckon they get a 2-year transfer embargo and a massive fine. That's it. Anyway, that's for another time. What do you think of the rumours that Joe Linton out for the season in surgery, if it's true? You touched on it, Paul. Surely we need to stretch FFP to bring in a midfielder. Buda set to miss 2 games. If he gets one more yellow card, and you know what? 2-game ban. We can't afford to miss Bruno anytime soon. Again, Eddie needs to talk to him and say, look, calm down on your tackles, Paul. If he doesn't calm down. For me, 2 games is going to be a massive miss. And then we have a midfield 3 of Longstaff, Marley, and who else is going to play in midfield?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's quite remarkable. I've never seen anything like it, and I respect everything Ian's saying. I don't see Eddie Howe go. I want to see him learn. And because I don't. In some cases, it has been out of his control. But we are defensively better when we attack.
Definitely,
the stats will prove that. But a completely different thing, which I think now is starting to pan out, is the fact that how important Dan Ashworth is to what's going on here, because we don't have any money, so we have to try and find what Dan Ashworth can do with these young players abroad. We only have to look at La Liga and look at Genoa, who are tearing it up in La Liga at the moment. And they're working on shoestrings, which is, by the way, I think there's a Man City subsidiary. Girona, my apologies, which is a Man City subsidiary. But they're tearing it up by getting these young players, and they're happy to buy them and churn them over like Brighton. It just so happens we've had a lot of things happen to us. And quite frankly, I don't think we could have planned for this. And I don't think we can do anything about it. What I do know is we'll get through this patch we'll learn from it, and I think we'll end up being a far, far stronger side. But I don't want to see Dan Ashworth go, not at all. I don't want to see him go at all, because I think he's so important. And the other thing as well is, I don't understand why we always need to buy for the Premier League. It's been proven throughout the Premier League. There's a wonderful players out there who are good enough, yet it's probably half the price rather than paying the Premier League tax. So there you go.
Exactly. Eddie Howe, for what I've seen, does react to opposition subs, cost us points against Liverpool and Man City, and a game against Chelsea. Yeah, and Man City as well. We could have got a point. Tom, Eddie hasn't got a bench either. Decent subs on, and yes, other clubs are playing a lot of games, but they didn't champion other club. What do you want to take on that on Lorraine's comment? Big up to Lorraine, by the way.
Let me just read Tom. Right.
Yes, go on,
I think. Right. I think. Look, I think there's no doubt about it. The other clubs are playing a lot of games as well, but they've got bigger squads. I understand that. When I mentioned something about old money, I didn't mean the likes of Abramovich coming in. I meant the old money had already been developed, been spent, and the commercial revenue had already been set for these top 6 clubs. That's why at this moment in time, we aren't, in many cases, ladies and gentlemen, in a competitive league, because money talks. These clubs are way ahead above us. I mean, Aston Villa will have the same problems. If Aston Villa have 3 or 4 injuries, they have got the same issues as well. They're on a budget. They're on a shoestring in terms of players, not in terms of turnover, in terms of a budget of players as well. And I think, we're always seem to be trying to catch these guys. But these guys have got these huge stadiums. They've got these big numbers going in. They've got these commercial revenues. And I just can't see it. I can't see 10 years actually filling that gap. I cannot. I just cannot see that, because the way they're going to move as well. So we've got a competitor in Europe, and it's definitely called the European Super League. It is going to be that, because these clubs, and let me just remind you, I think around about the early 90s, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, and I think Real Madrid had already considered and discussed a European Super League as far back as then. So this is nothing new to these clubs. That's why Manchester United wanted to get involved with the Super League. And that's why the Glaziers were going to be a founding director of the Super League. So the Super League's here. I haven't got too many concerns about it. But if that's the case, and they're going to set a standard, just like, let's be honest, just like Sky did compared to how football used to be covered by the dreadful BBC. The Super League will set that standard, and the Premier League will have to meet that. But I hope we're not jumping. My final statement, I hope we're not jumping from the fire, right, into the actual frying pan. And the reason I say that is because we're going from clearly EPL, who are out of control administratively and don't know what they're doing. But also, ladies and gentlemen, we also know how bad government regulators can be in many, many areas of our life. And that's my other concern.
Yeah, that's fair comment there, Mace. Thank you for that.
How are the lads? And come on, Eddie Howe. I'm on your side, honestly.
Come on, Tom.
Yes, Tom. Yes, Tom. That's how we do it. Big up, my guy. FFP will be around forever. Aramco, that's Saudi, and now FIFA's biggest sponsors. That's power at the top table. Very interesting. Thank you for that, Beer. Sadly, haven't got a strong enough team on the bench, and said the same thing as well. 70 minutes plus, use your subs or switch it up to win a game, or you're in the lead, or kill it off by going defensive. Well, we're not very good at the low block at the minute, are we? Klopp has been questioned last season. He was indeed. Then Man U fans blame the Glaziers instead of Ten Hag. Yeah, indeed.
He's a terrible manager. Terrible.
Ten Hag is terrible. I'll be honest, but they need a bigger name there. Tom, Eddie has got a bench with decent subs on, plus other teams haven't played the same amount of games, as not all teams had Champions League games, and not all teams have the injuries we've had, and that is from Lorraine. And
well, that may be the case, but I disagree, because I'm looking at all those teams coming down through Premier, through Europa, and into Conference. It wasn't so long ago I was watching West Ham, who were playing quite a lot of games and did very well. again, another club who actually has a bigger general income than ourselves. You know,
The only thing I disagree with, though, Tom, is they were playing against the Dog and Duck Sunday
yes,
League.
they were. Yes, I would agree. They were playing against.
and-
Yes, yeah, absolutely agree with you. The final wasn't. They were playing against a decent side in the final, which
They played one good team and they beat them in the final.
They did. One last thing, though. One last thing, which I think is crucial to our income, is going to be the stadium. The stadium has to be a focal point for income to be generated and advertised from. But the stadium, where it's an excellent stadium, is clearly not what our competitors are moving towards. I don't know what's going to happen with that stadium. I don't know if they're going to do a Tottenham and build on the actual site and move it slightly. I don't know what they're going to do. But the stadium itself, I think I read that a stadium that is going to have power and create very sizable income has to be around about 70,000.
That's to be more than that for me, but if they're going to
with a removable surface.
Yeah, if they're gonna leave St James Park as we know it now, I would not be happy if it wasn't over 80,000, because if you're building a 70, you can build an 80.
Yeah,
and I would say go as big as possible, because they'll fill it, and they will have the capacity then to fill it with lower income fans, which is where
they can get a mixture of a lot of corporate and average salaries fans. Yeah,
they increase it to 70 from 52, and I'll tell you now, 10,000 of them will go to corporate.
Yes, I agree.
That's a fair shout. I'd have to go to
the local area, and that's economics, Tom. Like, so, yeah. If they're going to move it, for me, it needs to be moved up the hill, a couple of 100 meters, where Leesy's Park is, playing SJP as it is now. Once it's built, level St James Park and make that into Leesy's Park, and then everybody should be happy. It's still the cathedral on the hill, although being a new stadium. If they're going to build a new stadium, if it's not going to be 80 plus, just build up.
That would be wonderful.
You can get. I would rather. If it's going to be less than 80,000, I would rather keep it the way it is and just build up. There's ways and means.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, that's my opinion.
Agree. Let's fight for the comments as well. Please get those comments coming in. Go do another 10, 15 minutes more. I'll be jumping on someone else's channel about 8:45, so join us to that if you want to. The sole reason we're dropping points is that we have no bench. Look at Man City's bench in the second half. Our only positive sub was Lewis, a defender. Can't blame Eddie for the lack of team. Jackie, I kind of agree, because at the end of the day, we haven't got a bench, right? It can't change again. There's not a lot we can do about it. However, I think, we could have, defended slightly better. And the goal sealer was really poor. Big up to Roger, by the way. Fantastic discussion, chaps. Opinions, football brilliance. Thank you, Roger. I really appreciate that. Thank you, man. Big up to Coffee, by the way. Hi to you, man. Hope you're okay. Where have you been all this time? It seems he comes in like a once a month, man. But it's good to see you again, man. He is a great guy. He's funny as well. He's really funny. Everyone's agreeing with Alan and as well. If Eddie goes, who would replace him? Mourinho. He has only been successful when clubs have splashed loads of money in his teams. He struggled at United. Wow, I tell you what. I don't want him here. Personally, I'm happy with Eddie Howe. But if we are going to replace Eddie Howe, it will have to be an elite manager. And that's just my opinion. It has to be someone elite, because these owners are serious, and they want the best. And Eddie is still the right man for me. De Bruyne, possibly the best player in the Prem for a long time now. Where was the plan to stop him? Put a man marker. They don't win that game. And the goal, when I watched that goal again, it made us cringe. Absolute. Sorry. If Man City have 115 charges, why don't they start with 10 charges at a time? Yep, that's a fair shout. That is a fair shout. Man City is here and scheduled to end of next season. Thank you for that, Leslie. Because it's going to take time. In all honesty, Villa had a better background than us, and selling Grealish has enhanced them immensely. Yeah, that's very true. Look where they are now. Look where they are now. Big up Ronald.
We're a better team than Villa, in my opinion. If you put Villa's, without injuries, if you put Villa's 11 down against our 11, and you put us playing against them, I honestly think we're a better team than them. I think Villa are doing well, and they've got a good manager. But I don't think they're all that. I watched them the other day, and they're not that good. We've just been underperforming because we've got injuries and we're knackered. I
think Ian Villa's test will be next season for Unai Emery. He's clearly a very, very good tactician.
Yes.
And one thing I would say is, I think he is, and I think in some ways unfairly treated Arsenal. But one thing I do remember was Eddie spent over a year understanding tactics and taking those exercises in from different managers and different clubs in Europe. If he has to go back to basics, then do it, because he's not the same tactically as he was last season. And is Eddie capable? Yes. Do I want him to stay? Yes. I want him to be successful, but I want him to stop us getting beat all the time. That's all. I'm just sick of getting beat.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
I think Philip's made a good point here. The Saudi group has then bought them out and pumped in loads of money. Well, with their FFP, same with Chelsea, both with overinflated, dodgy loans and sponsors. That's a fair shout, Philip. I mean, look, at the end of the day, these have bought this in, and I'm pretty sure it's because they don't want Newcastle United spending too much money. It's been set up by a peer, an independent commission. I think, Gary, I'll send you the article if I can find it, Leslie, to Gary.
Where's Chelsea's $2 billion to the war effort gone as well? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Exactly.
That got written off, so their FFP was back to zero.
Yeah.
Dodgy.
You know what? Exactly.
Well, it does make it so. Here we go, Ian. We're shouting for a regulator, and in actual fact, the British government with Abramovich and that money at Chelsea was the regulator, and here we are asking questions about that. Now you understand why I don't want to jump straight away.
Oh well, I wouldn't trust the government to regulate their own cat's dinner. You know, like
absolutely.
You think the bloody Premier League's corrupt, and you know what I mean? Then you look at them.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, that's political, so we don't talk about that.
Wow, crazy, man, ridiculous. Alan said the Super League is here. It's called FFP. Do you know what? The Premier League is the Super League now, and now it has been proved. Let's have a look at the comments as well. If FFP wants a money match, I don't think they have 350 billion in the bank. Oh, with the lads, that's in Colton. And is there something wrong with our medical team? It surely is, mate.
Well,
it surely is. It does look good, doesn't it? It doesn't look good. They need to investigate that as well, because something ain't quite right in the medical department.
I don't think that's the case, John. Honestly, I just think we've played a lot of games against. We've not had, you know, like I know Tom mentioned before, like West Ham last year, they were playing against, you know, bloody Farmers League, the dog and duck half the time. So they could play some kids and they wouldn't have any problems. We've played top quality teams all the way through the season in every cup. Yeah, we've met the top of the best as opposition, and we've done really well to the point where they were all knackered. All the players have been pushed to the brink, and now they're all breaking down. And that's why I think, as you know, like if I had a business and I had some, say, like I had some delivery drivers, and they could sustain 20 deliveries a day without breaking down, and I was asking them to do 40 deliveries a day repeatedly, and not just like 5 days a week, 7 days a week, and then, you know, like, and that went on for months and months and months, and I was earning the money, enough money to employ some other staff. But then someone said, "Oh, you can't employ any more staff." Why? Just because. You know, it's just it's just a rule that's been brought in. I think this is where I'm a bit militant on it. I just think get the staffing you need to protect your employees. Then you go back and you worry about it after, because at the end of the day, we are putting players like Joe Linton, players like Bruno, all the players on the injury list. We're putting them in harm's way by not being able to give them a rest. And it's not just us; it's other teams as well. And it isn't like even with my minuscule knowledge of competition law, this is a load of rubbish, right? In what other business can a man with money or a company with money, whatever, come into a business, buy a business, and not spend money to make that business better? It's a load of absolute rubbish.
Baloney.
The other thing which crosses my mind as well is that with the likes of Chelsea's, the Liverpool's, particularly the Man City, if the EPL muck up their legal case, they won't actually just have costs to pay. They could have other charges brought against them, counterclaims by Man City.
Yeah,
which would literally, which could cost them an absolute fortune. I think the EPL are extremely, extremely nervous about going after Man City. I really do.
Yeah,
I really do.
Talking of Man City, all right. I mean, I've got Gundogan, great guy, loving the bits, man. Right. I mean, he said, right, in his comments as well, that's nonsense about the charges, mate. Get the facts. 2 different cases. We need the facts asked. You know what, mate? I'll be happy to get on your show, mate. And we're going to have this discussion as well. And I'll get Tom and Paul as well. No problems to talk about this, yeah? And I'll be happy to bring them on my channel, which I'm sure we accept. And he also said that's why we follow each other, to shed light on these matters, mate, yeah? So if you want to talk about it, mate, about the situation of Man City, right, let me know. And then I'll try to do a special show with you, mate. No problems whatsoever. Mourinho has success at Roma, who spent no money compared to the other teams. The truth is, Eddie will not be a long-term manager. The owners have ambition, and Eddie is the start, not the finish. What's your take on that, Paul? And I'll tell you what, he is a fantastic guy. Big Man City fan.
That's fine. He's wrong. I disagree with his opinion. That's what we're here for. But
opinions are like assholes, Paul. Everyone's got
disagree. Like I think that this season, the owners said themselves in the documentary, they expected a kick down. They did. They said they weren't expecting what happened last season. No one did. We didn't. Any Newcastle fan that tells you we're going to get top 4 at the start of last season is a liar. Of course not. We would have been happy with a Europa Conference League finish last season. So we did overachieve. I still think that when Eddie Howe gets properly judged, if this season was completely injury-free and Tonali suspension-free, and we had no injuries or maybe 1 or 2, but not big ones, and we were where we are now, I think Eddie Howe would be in a lot more pressure because he has had the players. So for me, the real season when Eddie gets properly judged from up above, not fans in particular, I think next season in particular is probably the biggest season for Eddie Howe because he has all the players back, probably. We never know, but most likely all the players are back, including Tonali. Maybe a few summer signings. It depends on what the hell's going on with the money and all that. But possibly a new face or 2, some people going out. And if we have a proper full season that way, I think that's realistically when Eddie properly gets judged by the actual ownership. I don't think you can really judge him too hard on this season because, like we said already, we've made this point already that we've gone to the hardest group in the Champions League, and arguably, and we're not being sour grapes here, but we were a penalty and a poor second half away from coming second in the group.
No, we were robbed. I don't care about sour grapes. We were robbed of going through. Robbed, cheated.
So we were that far away. We were a Kieran Trippier header away from getting through to a semi-final, which I still think we probably would have beat Middlesbrough and got through to the final. I'm saying we would have won it. You never know. It's a one-off game, and Liverpool are a good side. No, I assume Liverpool are getting through. But do you know what I mean? You're in another final. You're in the later stages of the Champions League. Then it's kind of like a different looking season. Do you know what I mean? It really is. It's a really different looking season that you can almost accept the tapering off because you're thinking, well, yes, we're 9th or 10th, but look, Christ, we've got through to the Champions League where in a semi-final of the Cup, we're still in the FA Cup. There's a lot of things that have happened this season that the grass has not gone in our favour at all times. Like I said, if that penalty doesn't happen, it's a different story. If we play a better second, I still think we have different tactics in that Milan game at St James's. If we win the game at PSG, which we should have, I still think our tactic against them is different anyway. I don't think we play that same game, and I don't think we play the same tactic in the second half anyway. I think a lot of it was just, a lot of it was silliness and just us wanting to go gun ho. And I think even Eddie did try to manage them and say, don't do that. And I think the players took some of it on their own. He even said, like, I didn't tell them to stop attacking. And I think that they just wanted to win, which for me, I love that. I love that, from the players. They want to win. They don't want to argue for a draw or anything. So it's one of those things where you live by that mistake, don't you? That you learn from that. But for me, I think there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to Eddie Howe with some people. Like I say, look at our bench against Man City and look at Man City's bench compared to ours. No offense to these lads, they're great lads. We've got people like Parkinson on the bench. Great, good for him, but he's not getting anywhere near the start 11 ever until he's more experienced. You've got Lewis Hall, who Eddie clearly doesn't trust for whatever reason, but he's the manager. I'm not the manager. He clearly doesn't trust him. You've got Matt Ritchie, great servant, but no offense, what's he going to do against Man City? No offense to him, love him, but what's he going to do? You've got Gillespie, you've got Karius on the bench. What are they going to? They can't come on. It's just, do you know what I mean? And like I said, their bench. You got Grealish on the bench. He didn't get on the game. He didn't get on the pitch. You got Doku and you got all this array of talent they've got on that bench compared to us. It's incomparable, and I think this shows we're mad about losing 3-2 to Man City, and we're pissed off about it. That shows you how far we've come, in my opinion.
Right.
We're annoyed about losing 3-2 to Man City.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well said, Paul. Just go through his few comments. Going to close the show soon.
Nothing on Eddie, because I never got a chance to say about Eddie.
Go on, then. Go on. Go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
I'm not going for too long. No, because my main thing is I absolutely love Eddie Howe. And the main reason that I love him is because he's not an absolute crybaby little muppet, right? The pride I have when I see him speak about us, and he never loses his temper. He never he don't do a me anyway. He never kicks off. He'll go in. He'll come out, and he's like, if your dad was like him, you would be proud. And that is what I'm telling you now. Like, I've watched the documentary with the high performance documentary, and he turned around to them lads and he said, "Why are you so calm and all that?" And he said, "Because I'll tell you why. Because when my kids grow up, they will. If I act like a Klopp or a Sharteta, the biggest wet fart of a man I've ever met in my life. That's why he's called Sharteta, right? If I behave like that, my kids will see that." He didn't obviously mention them two. I just put that in. I don't want my kids to see me behaving like that. He's a great man. He's a good manager at the moment. He's an amazing man manager. And he is a very good tactician, and he's only going to get better because he is still a young man. He's younger than me. I feel like I'm still 12, or you know what I mean? The bloke is a great man, and he pulled us right out of the proverbial when he came in, and he did brilliant. And he, for me, has deserved at least another 2 seasons and some play back. I know we've got some good players in, but we've still not got a proper squad in. Let's give him a proper squad and let's see what he can do. Because I'm telling you now, Pep, celebrate, and Pep's the best manager in the world for me, without a doubt. And when I seen Pep jumping up and down when they got that winning goal against us, he was more animated beating us than I've seen him in any other game. We are a top team, and he respects us, and he respects Eddie Howe. You get rid of Eddie Howe and you bring someone like, no offense, I know Mourinho's won a lot of stuff, but you know what it is? There's ways to win. And I think Mourinho is a bit of a knob. And I'd rather have, when I look at my football team and I look at the figurehead, which is Eddie Howe, I am proud that he's in charge of us and not a crying little all about me idiot like the likes of Klopp turning his back on Salah, by the way, when Salah was taking that second penalty after missing the first penalty, was one of the most disgraceful things I've seen a football manager do. If I was Salah, I'd have run over and kicked him square in the balls and dropped him like a bad habit. It was pathetic, that. It was really disrespectful to a great footballer. By the way, a better footballer than he is a manager. Everyone thinks he's great. I think he's a knob. And the likes of him, Arteta, they couldn't lace Eddie's boots for me. And Pep, yes, he celebrated at the end, and yeah, I was gutted and that. But I think Pep's got a bit of class about him, and I think he respects Eddie up there with the best of them, and I do. And I want to give him. Let's give him a couple of seasons, because to be honest, we're a couple of seasons ahead of where we should have been anyway. That's my
well said. Absolutely, well said. Well said. For me, I'll go with Foxy as well. Mixed injuries, poor in-game management from Howe, and most importantly, poor recruitment has cost us this season. Even if we finish 12th, I'll back Eddie for next season. But he needs to learn from mistakes. And I think, in my opinion, I think the owners will give Eddie another season. Yeah. But in my honest opinion, Tom, I think he needs to get it right. And I'm an Eddie fan, by the way, but I got a feeling the PF, not me, they want to see him get it right.
I want Eddie to survive as much as anybody.
Yeah.
But I can't sit back and just lie and just agree with certain people. I agree with Ian as well. Everything he said about Eddie, he's a wonderful man. He's somebody to look up to, and he sets a very, very high bar, far higher than many of the Premier League managers. In fact, the difference is, though, PIF is an organisation which is hell-bent on performance. If you look at their portfolio, it's magnificent. If you look at their returns, it's superb. And can I remind us all that the PGA golf organisation?
Yeah. PGA golf,
Yeah, the one in federal court, and they asked Yasser to appear in front of court, and he didn't want to do that. And they asked PIF to produce all their documents. They wouldn't do that either. And what did PIF do? They just went and bought the PGA. So they want the best, and we're lucky to have them. I think Eddie should be given another year when he's got a stronger side and he's got a number of things going wrong. Eddie, in some ways, when I even just talk about and listen to you guys, which I appreciate enormously, I think he's going through a bit of a perfect storm as well. He's had a number of things which haven't gone right. FFP, injuries, to say just a few things. And he does need time. How much time he's given, I've got to be honest, I don't think he's going to have that much time. And I think the standard which will be set by PIF will be where he finishes at the end of the season if he can scrape into that particular European spot. But I want Eddie to be there next season.
We all do. And so does Lorraine as well. They'd be hell on if Eddie was sacked. I'm going to kind of agree. Tom, I agree with you as well, mate, because at the end of the day, right, I mean, if they sack him, who's going to come in? I can't think of anyone's going to come in at the minute. With this FFP as well, rules coming in as well. I can't think of anyone's going to come in at the minute. I'm sure the job is attractive. I work with them. They probably think I'm going to get all this money. It doesn't work like that anymore because of the FFP. And
I think they would get quality managers applying for the job. But the other thing as well is, which Brighton have proved, that there's also young quality managers out there with new ideas. Alonso, for example, at Leverkusen or whatever they call it. You've got the guy over in the Spanish. Was it Genoa? Is that right?
No, Girona.
Girona. You've got that. You've got him as well. There's clearly managers out there, and it's being able to spot those managers. Me, in the short term, I think part of success is going to have to be buying players in Europe and building a squad and moving the old guard out who've done such a good job, because I can't see the money being there immediately because they're still building it up. I know we've got a few outstanding sort of sponsors, and I know they're going to come through. But even when you say that, even when you do get the sponsors, the English Premier League are still trying to actually put one arm up your back to actually prevent Newcastle United moving forward commercially. There always seems to be something which they're putting in their way and coming up with rules and regulations last minute to stop us trying to actually get players on loan from Saudi. It just seems as though we've got a lot of things which are in our way and we need to push those to one side. And if DeMarco's representing Nottingham Forest, I think he might be one of the reasons we may have something moved out our way, and that will be
because he knows what he's
FFP.
doing.
He does. I rate him highly. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. So,
He's the best sports lawyer in the world. Oh, he's pretty much proved that, hasn't he? So
he has. He's got a wonderful portfolio of clients who he's represented. It's absolutely magnificent. Mm-hmm. So he does know what he's doing, and I don't think he's taking the case for nothing. I think he can win. So there you go.
Exactly. Zidane. Culture on Zinedine Zidane. Wow. Now he'd probably take the French national team if Deschamps decides to move on. If Eddie gets a sack, it would be harsh after what he's done for us, but wouldn't be a surprise to me. This is football, ruthless business, rarely fair. It is ruthless now.
Yeah.
The fair in FFP is oxymoron. That's a Ronald.
Yeah.
And a new manager will expect a wage to spend, and that is the problem. That is the problem. I'll tell you what, whoever comes in, right? I mean, I want to win a title. I want to win a title. To do that, you have to get the players that's out of contract, and you need to get rid of a few players. You don't need to sell Bruno. You don't need to sell Isak. You don't need to sell Botman. Yeah? For me, Paul, can you see one of these players score at the end of the season?
I hate it.
We're going to discuss it again soon.
I'm just saying all that.
I mean, I would hate it. I'd hate that to happen. Just because obviously to build a great side, you need to keep the likes of Botman, Isaac, Bruno. These are the pillars of us being a great side. But
yeah,
this is the thing with FFP that this is where it's so backwards that they force most of these teams into selling that big asset to even have some freedom to spend money. And look, football is a business. It's just what it is, and we love it because we're fans and we're passionate. And it's one of those things where is a greater evil where you sell someone like Bruno Guimaraes, which I know would be horrible, but that does free you up for spending on 4 or 5 players. And if that wins you some sort of trophy in the end, as much as it's painful losing a player of that ilk and who love the club, it's just such a horrible thing to have to consider.
Well, I'll give you another thing that I might be wrong, but imagine another dimension where FFP gets ditched or changed massively, so that people can buy, because that has got to happen. Because you know why? The Premier League does not exist without the best players and without the best competition. And all FFP is doing now is stopping every team. Let's not Billy bullshit about this. Every team in the Premier League now is having to look over the shoulder for every single penny they spend, because they've all tried doing us up the backside, The truth is, the Premier League will not be the Premier Division if they don't change it. So they have to change it, right? Why should we now worry about FFP? In my opinion, we've done nothing wrong for 3 years, right? Let's get some players in. Let's keep Bruno. Let's keep Isak. If Bruno's got his release clause, whatever it is that comes in this summer, someone meets that, unfortunately, he's gone. I will honestly, I'll cry if Bruno goes.
Yeah.
You know, me and his dad are best mates. I don't know if you've seen the photo of us at Sunderland away. But we need to keep these assets, because FFP is no longer fit for purpose. That's what it stands for. It's not fit for purpose. Ian,
but just think about this. We are fighting the very same organisation our Premier League clubs have voted for. We're actually taking them to court.
Yeah,
they are against what we want to do. they seem to be against certainly ourselves, what they're
It only
actually
takes
starting.
14 teams, Tom, to turn round and say this
It
is
does.
not for
Yeah.
purpose. And at the moment, how many teams are under investigation?
Yeah, yeah. And then that look, you know, I'm no fan of Everton. I'm not. They're a great club, don't get me wrong. But I'm no fan. But certainly you've got a club there that's actually building a new stadium. And they're putting all that money into the stadium. And they still get hit on the head. Not once, but twice. For goodness sake. I mean, this is just absolutely mad now. These guys are on steroids. They're on steroids. They're mad.
Crazy, man.
They're pooing the pants because they're getting told, if you don't sort your house out, we will come in and we will sort your house out by the government. You know, and as much as I wouldn't want them muppets coming in and doing anything, and it will be an independent adjudicators, whoever comes in to do it. And the Premier League are pooing the pants, so then they're taking it out on the likes of Everton, who, by the way, I hate Everton. I'm not going to be as nice as you are about it. I could tell you stories, and I will do, not on here though, about how much I hate Everton. I went Everton away, by the way. I've got a story to tell you off it, which is quite funny. But no, I don't like them. But the truth is, they're a historic English football club. Everton are getting done up the backside. Man City, you've got all the money and all the lawyers in the world, are sat there with 115 or whatever it is charges against them, and these muppets haven't got the ball or the money or the inclination to take it any further. They're getting stopped at every because they've got good lawyers. They just get blocked. So my point is, much as I don't want to break rules.
But Ian, sorry for interrupting, but just look at Reading. Look what this owner's doing to Reading. FFP wouldn't have stopped that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have stopped that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, the bloke at Reading's just chucked his toys out of the pram. He spent a lot of money, didn't he? He spent a lot of money, but then he's just chucked his toys out of the pram and gone, all right then. And now they're eating microwave meals. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the players are not getting played on time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy.
Very. We're going to wrap up. We're going to go through the comments. We're going to wrap up the show. It's been brilliant tonight. What a show tonight. And guys, you've been fantastic. Thank you. Eddie said himself, you have to sell the players, not necessarily the star players, but I don't. But one big gun may have to go. That's a goat father. Someone in the mirror said Bruno's release clause is 98 mil and can be paid in 3 installments.
Oh, that's not right, Gary, because if that is right, I'll be fairly peed off with that,
Yeah, and that's to Liverpool, by the way. And I tell you what, if they sell him, and I tell you what, they better get a replacement for him very, very quickly.
I don't think Bruno wants to go anywhere.
I can't see him going. Nah. Who requested release clause is the player himself, Lorraine. The player asked for it. It's insane. I agree with Gunn. It can be either Lorraine. 2 parties have to agree with it. I thought it was just the player agrees to it, but cool. And it's not about lawyers. It's a different case, mate. And that is on Gundogan as well. And great show. Thank you very much indeed. Alan, as for FFP, get rid. Take care. As for Everton, new stadium, knock it down, problem solved. Wow. Is the release clause basically in the case the players doesn't settle at a club or is his family unhappy? I think he asked for a release clause in case the bigger club comes in. And it could be Real Madrid, Barca. I think it could be that. They asked for a release clause and that. Then he might want to move on. But
the club do it to guarantee some money as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, very true. Or they put a release clause in and say they may not afford that price, but they will.
If West Ham can do it, and if it did happen with Bruno, if West Ham can do it, we certainly can.
Yeah.
Big up. Absolutely. I don't like Everton for that. I know what you mean. I'm not going to say it, Pickford, for that Pickford, but I get what you mean. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, man. Question for the panel before we wrap up. What do you expect in the transfer window? For me, I believe it's going to be a 0 because of the stupid FFP. So it's a 0, no chance of that ripping. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate that tonight. It's been really fantastic show tonight. Putting the speak about as well. And, you know, I mean, Tom has been fantastic. Paul's been awesome, and Ian doing Ian segments as well.
Average.
Much better. Yes. So I was going to say, protect the asset or give the players some freedom, but allow the club to recoup its money. Yep, he just said that as well. You
just
too, Gary.
one thing before we go, lads. Nobody's mentioned it at all tonight. If we do get some money, don't spend it on stupid wages.
Yeah.
Let's get the mixture between a very good player and somebody who's on reasonable wages, because
let's buy another Bruno.
Well.
Let's buy another Bruno. Let's buy another Botman. Let's buy another Isak. The players are
absolutely. Yes, they are. They are.
You know, they're on good wages now, but they've proved the pudding, haven't they? And that's where I think we go. I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to burst like the bank to keep growing. We just have to be allowed to spend a reasonable amount of money, and that's why I say we do. And if then people want to pull us up for it, by the time, put it this way, if they can't deal with Man City's lawyers, they're not going to be able to deal with Piff's lawyers.
And that's why I agree with you, Ian. I think Newcastle should have went for it. They should have done it.
I have
a feeling dealt with the consequences later. I
think they might do. Maybe not now. I think they'll loan 1-2 players, buy one in the summer. We're going for it. I honestly think that.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
They're not facts. I know nothing. It's just my thoughts. I don't know. It's just my. I don't know anybody. I have no inside line. It's just my thoughts on the way that they will not be bullied by these muppets. You know, these are people who they couldn't tie the shoelaces in business. You know, and they're just going to be looking at them thinking, well, all right, we'll play the game to an extent, but you know, don't take the mickey out of us.
No,
I know.
So prepare for Vernon Anita and Chef Takuchi in the summer.
We'll take that. Just going to wrap up the show, but to continue, big up to you, my guy. TMW. FFP FSR is not wanted by Manchester City. We hate. We voted against it. So all this blame City isn't factual. The Red Cartel wanted this, and as we gate crashed their party.
Correct.
Absolutely. Totally agree. He's right. It's always a great show. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Go. Take FFP hit short term. Imagine we saw Miggy right over the world, terrifying Fox. I know you got to come in and say that. And let's come to Martin as well. So that's it. Then we've got to wrap up the show. And Tom, can you tell us where you can find you, mate? You're on social, so apart from Twitter.
Oh, well, I'm on X, and just you can get me just under Asset Vigilante Assets, because I look after assets with me business. So it's Asset Vigilante. You can get me at. Okay.
Fantastic. The links in the X. Brilliant stuff. The links in the description as well. If you do find and give him a follow, he talks about also Newcastle United, and he is the real one. Paul, we find you on Blank Canvas PC, and Ian, he is not on social media. Only on.
You can find me in any of my local pubs in Wickham. And also on my big fat arse in my front room watching telly and YouTube, and especially you, John Sinclair TV. Big up, John.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very
excellent,
much,
John. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Don't go away yet. I'll with you guys backstage for a minute, and I'll be back again either tomorrow or Wednesday. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll be going on Anfield Road Rod's channel in the next 5-10 minutes or so. If you want to join us, that cool. But guys, you like the video, like what you watch. Thank you very much for watching the show. It's been a fantastic show tonight, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for Roger. Thank you for the goats. And now let's go and win the FA Cup. Like and subscribe, guys. Have a fantastic evening if you decide to do, and I'll wheel it up.